Thank you for this opportunity. We all are in lookout for silver bullets. When we are discussing micro, small and medium enterprises and the challenges they face, somebody had said once, and that reminds me again, that Hari Anant, Hari Katha Ananta. So the problems are so many. But if we prioritize, because we have to begin from somewhere, I think we need to begin from creating enormous competition in the banking and finance sector. So financial sector reforms is the first thing if we want to create this country as an entrepreneurial society, which is needed socially, economically, politically. There is no need for a country of the size of this country and diversity to have 75% of its financial banking and financial sector controlled by the government. And it has its own huge costs that we all of us have to bear, not only as consumers, but as borrowers, in terms of the high cost of finance that MSMEs have to face, very poor quality of service that is rendered to the borrowers. There is no concept of the client. So we have to do is what has been done in the telecom sector. We need to do a telecom in the banking and finance sector, and then we see the way the telecom companies chase the consumers, the banking and finance companies will chase the borrowers. That has been done in many other countries. US is the prime example. The second thing that we need to do is in access to industrial and commercial space. India is perhaps the only country in the world which is witnessing in the human history the maximum or the greatest migration from the rural areas to the urban areas. We would be almost 40 to 50% urbanized, but our systems are not geared. We have not planned our urban planning for creating commercial space and industrial space. The reason is that almost 90% of industries operate from unauthorized areas. It has its consequences. Go to the nearest of the industrial towns around Delhi, Panipat. Almost 90% of Panipat units operate from home, which means that the banks would not give them loan because they are not registered. They are not registered because they are operating from unauthorized areas. And because they would not get loan, they would not upgrade the machinery. Because they would not upgrade the machinery, they would not be able to compete. They would be producing shoddy quality product. And what surprise, if Panipat is famous for not for finest blankets, but for the shoddy blankets in the world. It is the capital of shoddy blankets. That's the name, shoddy blanket. Should we be proud of this thing that we have, what we have created? The third reforms that we need to do is in the labor sector. Look at the social security cost that we are creating here on a new enterprise when now in India. It's almost close to 30%. I think what is needed is that the social security cost, including of Provident Fund and ESI, especially when our Prime Minister has announced a big, fantastic scheme for Ayushman, that is access to health services by all, then why not for the small scale employees also? And if that is so, then there is no need to pay for the ESI. You are paying for a service not only as employer but as well as by employee, for which there is no hotel, there is no hospital that exists, there are no services that exist. It is absolute scam that we are paying 5 to 6% to ESI for non-existent services. Why we are allowing you to do this? So that's the third area of reform in the labor sector. Finally, because otherwise I would be taking up somebody else's time. In India, government is a 900-pound gorilla in the room. Not just in the banking sector, it is in the railways, it is in the infrastructure, electricity, you name a service. It is the government that is controlling it. And it is the efficiency or inefficiency of the government that is weighing down the competitiveness of the industries. Mr. Chairman, you have mentioned very importantly that ease of doing business is fine. Let's start talking about cost of doing business, cost of these services, cost of electricity, cost of sending your container from Delhi to Mumbai because it is a monopoly. Now Delhi to Mumbai transport would be almost double the cost of sending the container from Mumbai to Dubai. This is too bad. And you have to compete. And why it is important to talk about the cost of doing business is after WTO, let's understand this. Our political parties have not yet understood this. After signing on WTO, after eradication of all the quantitative restriction in 2004, after entering into a series of FTAs with our neighbors and other countries, each and every manufactured product in the country is subjected to the discipline of imports. In simple terms, we have to compete globally in manufacturing, not in services. So there is a difference between manufacturing and services. And that's why manufacturing is not growing. For the last 25 years, we are stuck at 15%. No matter how much money we are spending, how much skills we are creating, how much money we are throwing behind it, it's not growing. And it is rather shrinking. And we have to understand why it is shrinking. That imagine there is a scissor manufacturer in Meerut. We have a biggest cluster of scissors in just 60 kilometers from Delhi. A scissor manufacturer has to compete with the Chinese imports of scissors. But a hairdresser, fortunately, does not have to compete because no hairdresser is coming from China. So the only growth possibilities that we see all around us are in which sector? Services sector. Why? Because currently there is no competition. That might change in next 10 years, next 20 years. In Europe it has changed, for example. And that's why we are facing Brexit. Brexit is essentially because the people from other countries have started coming in and providing the services. So with these, I would conclude. The main point is that we have to start looking at the cost of doing business from all perspectives, especially the services that government is providing.